Hi everyone, this is Robert and welcome to IDG Live. This is a rather impromptu live stream. We normally live stream on this channel on Thursdays at 5 o'clock Eastern time. That's 10 o'clock in the evening, my time in the UK. But the House of the Dragon Season 2 trailer has just dropped a few hours ago. So I thought you might like me just quickly talking through it. It's still quite fresh. Some of the images are quite quick, and so I will certainly talk through what I think and what I've seen, but I suspect that you may well have spotted some things that I haven't. So I will keep an eye on the chat and read out anything if people have got any extra information as well as we go on. What I've done is I've put a link down in the description to the actual trailer itself. It's about a minute long, but I took some screenshots for here. There's like 50 something of them, so there's quite a lot of stuff to work our way through, but why don't we just get straight into it and start talking through what we've got, and let's see whether I can make this technology work. This is where we start. This is well, actually, where we'll actually start, I think, probably is just a very quick overview to say the feel of this is very much like House of the Dragon Season 1. There's no massive, that I can see from this anyway, there's no massive directorial or tonal shift. However, we are now very much in wartime, and so that is what the big sort of voiceovers are. We've only got 3 kind of statements in terms of voiceover. I'll read them all out. First of all, we have Otto Hightower saying errors were made in the hours following King Viserys' death. We'll come on to that in a moment. Then we have Alicent, in a kind of world-weary tone, it has to be said, saying the war will be fought, many will die, and the victor will eventually ascend the throne. And then Rhaenys, who seems to be talking to Rhaenyra at this point, saying, there is no war so hateful to the gods as a war between kin, and no war so bloody as a war between dragons. So that's the context. That's the overlying theme that we've got going through here. Season 1 was the build-up to the Dance of the Dragons. Season 2, this is the dance in full effect. Now, if you remember where we left this at the end of Season 1, Aegon II had been crowned. Rhaenyra had now heard about it, but even more importantly, for her anyway, she had sent out her sons on, her 2 eldest sons anyway, on missions to try and rally some support. She sent Luke Lucerys to Storm's End to try and get the Baratheons on side. There he meets, or he finds that he's not the only person who is there. Aemond Targaryen from the Greens is also there on Vhagar, the massive dragon, and we all remember what happens there. And that means that Luke and his dragon Alex get lost in Shipbreaker Bay. This is Shipbreaker Bay that Rhaenyra is looking out over. That in the background you can see a castle with a massive drum tower coming up. That is Storm's End, the castle, the keep of the Baratheons, and just outside there, that is where this fight between the dragons happened at the end of last season. I should probably do the quick spoiler warning here. I would have thought it's pretty obvious with the trailer breakdown, but the general rule we have for this channel, which I stick to pretty much throughout, is book spoilers are okay, show spoilers are not okay. What I mean by that is Fire and Blood has been out for a while, so I will happily say what happens in Fire and Blood. The show has broadly stuck to what has happened in Fire and Blood, although they have made some significant changes in Season 1. I imagine it will be the same in Season 2, that it's the same broad story, broad themes, characters and stuff like that will be running through it. However, they will make some artistic changes as they go along. So just because I say something happens in the books doesn't necessarily mean it happens in the show. Added to which, as another caveat, Fire and Blood is not written just as a single narrative. Fire and Blood is written as a history. and that means an in-world history, and that means that there are some things that people just do not know, and our interlocutor there sort of often says, well, one source tells me this, one source tells me that. You decide what you think is the best. Here on the show, I suppose they could have tried to go down that route, but they haven't. What they did was they just told a single narrative, which means that they have chosen one of these different options, or on some occasions gone down a completely different route entirely. So, book spoilers are fine, show spoilers are not. The only things I will be talking about show-wise are not any leaks, nothing like that, just what we see here in front of us. So, what we have here, the opening shot of the trailer. This is Rhaenyra, and she is looking out over Shipbreaker Bay, clearly mourning the loss of her son. Now, we have then another look here. This doesn't look, maybe she's been crying. I've heard suggestions that maybe that's soot or ashes on her face. Maybe she's come from a battle or somewhere. So we don't know exactly when this is, whether this is straight away, whether this is partway through the season. Either way, she has clearly gone over there to mourn the loss of her son. And we get a few shots. It's not 100% clear whether these are all together, but this is where we get Rhaenys. Now, Rhaenys, you will remember, she, in a slight departure from the books, in season 1, she was held in King's Landing and just escaped, bursting up through the dragon pit floor. Could have just burned all of the greens there and then decided not to, and we got the explanation that the reason was that she didn't think it was for her to start this war. And here, if you remember, we've got she does this bit voiceover, which is what she's saying here to Rhaenyra. She is saying, there is no war so hateful to the gods as a war between kin, and no war so bloody as a war between dragons. So she is clearly, during these opening few episodes, she is going to be a calming, tempering influence on Rhaenyra, or attempting to be. Rhaenyra, as we saw from that look at the very end of season 1, she is angry and she wants revenge. And Rhaenys is going to be a slightly more calming, measuring voice in all of this. Here, let's have a look at what we have with Team Green going on after this as well. So here we have Otto. Now, Otto, we have the voiceover from him. Again, this seems to be quite early on in the season, maybe even episode 1. Errors were made in the hours following King Viserys' death. If you remember, what happened in the hours that followed King Viserys' death is Team Green turned in on itself. He had a plan for what had to happen. It became very apparent that he'd been plotting and planning this for quite some time. He had a plan to immediately go in and take out Rhaenyra and try and get the war underway and finished as soon as possible. Whereas Alicent was very keen on, this was her old friend, obviously, Rhaenyra, so she had quite mixed emotions about what was going on. She wanted to negotiate with Rhaenyra, and she wanted to make sure that when Aegon was crowned, it was done properly. This wasn't just a rushed thing. This was in front of everyone, and it had the High Septon doing it. There was the crown. There was the sword Blackfire. Everything looks legit. So that was her plan. She won. Out of the two of them, she gained control initially, but Otto here is basically saying, okay, so mistakes were made. Another mistake perhaps he's thinking about is the attack on Luke, because this, yes, gave them a small early advantage over Team Black, but we don't know what Aemond said when he returned. In the books, he seems to just claim this as a thing that he did. And we saw on the show that actually this was Vhagar out of his control. So is he going to report back that he did it, or is he going to report back that he lost control of his dragon? It's probable that he actually reports back that he deliberately killed Luke. So Otto is going to be an interesting character in this. He starts off obviously as Hand of the King. He is going to be plotting through this, trying to get support for Team Green, and he's going to do this by writing out lots of letters, trying to do a bit of diplomacy, but he works in a very slow, deliberate way. So what we'll see during this season probably is a shift between his approach and the more, let's call it, hot-headed approach of people like Aemond and Criston Cole. Okay, let's go to this. This is obviously Alicent. Now, I'll go back again to what she said. There is no, the war will be fought, many will die, and the victor will eventually ascend the throne. Now, that is, it's not actually the tone of somebody who's there 100% behind her son saying, okay, we're going to get rid of the pretenders over the sea. We'll wipe them off the face of the earth. There's none of that. It's just the whatever will be, will be. There will be a war, people will die, and somebody will win. She seems really downbeat. And you will see there's a few more images of her going through this in the trailer, and all of it is she's looking sad, she's looking down. It's almost as if she's yes, she wanted this, she wanted her son to be the king, but she's now resigned to terrible things. And to be fair, as everyone who's read the book will know, terrible things will come. So here we have Aegon himself. He is wandering or walking into the throne room, and here everybody's bowing to him. There you can just make out Otto up just at the foot of the Iron Throne. He's going to sit himself down on the Iron Throne, and this is another symbol of legitimacy. This is another symbol of, I am the true and rightful king. I am sitting on the Iron Throne. So it's very clear that they're not going to back down. But I said something about the hot-headed tendency. If we go back again to there, you'll see lots of people bowing down, perhaps a couple of people not quite so keen. Team Green are very keen at this point to make sure that they know who their loyalists are. So they will go through everybody who, if you remember way back in the day, everybody had to pay fealty to Rhaenyra and accept. This is Viserys made everybody promise that, yes, she was the heir and that they would support her. And some people feel that they ought to stick by that. Other people perhaps do not. So Team Green will go through and basically give all of the lords who happen to be in King's Landing at the time a bit of an ultimatum. You either renounce any promises you made to support Rhaenyra, or you die. So you either join us or we kill you. And it's very clear that, and this is in the books, and this is what looks like is happening here. Criston Cole personally takes charge of dispatching those lords who would not change their allegiance. So this is a theme actually which runs through the Dance of the Dragons, is that there's a lot of houses who do shift allegiance through the dance, but because they have to, in order just to survive, regardless of whose side they're actually on, who they think should be in charge, they have to change sides in order just to not be killed. So that is what is going on here. This is Criston Cole executing one of the families, the lords of the families, who refused to bend the knee to Aegon II. Now let's go to... try this one. Yeah, let's go over to here. So there you'll see, okay, this ball thing here, that is, if you remember back in season 1, they had this in the small council. Everybody, that you have this ball which is supposed to be able to add to your wisdom and ability to govern wisely, and it was put in front of everybody on the table. And here, this is, I think it's Aegon playing with that ball. So this is it's symbolically showing that he's taking the seat of power, but he's playing with this idea of wisdom. It's not really what he's about. So let's go over to Team Black. How are they going to respond to this? Now we see here we have a war council. So after the initial reaction that we had from Rhaenyra, the anger, the desire to go to war, they have to decide what to do. She sends off her sons. She sent Luke off down to the Baratheons. He does not return. So she sent Jace, her eldest and heir, up north. We'll come to him in just one moment. But the big problem is that they actually have no real allies on the mainland. They're on Dragonstone. The House Velaryon, and you'll see Rhaenys there, are on Driftmark. These are both islands off of the east coast. The other main houses are not officially on their side. They might have sworn fealty to her before or sworn loyalty to her before, but the situation has clearly changed and she needs to get people on side. So what happens in the books is we get a decision that Rhaenys would be sort of circling with her dragon over southern Westeros, just keeping an eye on things. And then Daemon would set off to establish a foothold in Westeros, because there were some noble lords who were sympathetic, but there was nowhere for them to rally. And so he decided, I'm going to go to Harrenhal. Massive castle in the middle of the land. Everyone knows where it is. I can host a huge army there. If I take that and try and get support of some of the river lords, and that can also be a rallying point for the rest of the army. So that's the plan. We have and got to say, I love the painted table with the lights and things like that. It was really effective in season 1. I'm glad they're coming back to it in season 2. This is her in her crown. So this is her father's crown, and the Targaryens, it has to be said, we often think of like there being a royal crown for a royal family. The Targaryens had different royal crowns. So what we have here, this is the one that was Viserys's, whereas Aegon the second is wearing Aegon the Conqueror's crown. So they've both got sort of crowns that they think makes them look like they're legitimate. This one was rescued out of King's Landing here on the show by Eric Cargill, one of those twins, the twins who had been guarding Aegon II. And if you will remember back in the King's Guard, you'll remember back in episode whatever it was, 9 maybe, of last season, they split because they both knew what Aegon II was like. And one of them felt that it was his duty to carry on there, and another felt that actually it was his duty to go after Rhaenyra. So they split one from another, and so there's now one of them in each camp. We'll come back to that in a moment. This is just a nice little shot. That is Daemon's helmet. You'll remember seeing it when he was fighting in the Stepstones in season 1. And here you'll see he just grabs it and storms out. He's going to war. He's got his armor on. He is going to war. Now, here we have a big army camp, obviously. That is the flag. There's a lot of sigils going on in this trailer. This is good, because George R. R. Martin said when he was talking about House of the Dragon, he said he had 3 personal specific requests. And those were number one, he wanted the dragons to be distinguishable. Number two, he wanted the reinstatement of Charis II into the official timeline of the Game of Thrones TV world. And three, he wanted more use of house sigils and brighter sigils. So that has definitely come through in this trailer, it has to be said. Here, this is obviously the red dragon on the black background. This is Team Black. Okay, let me just pause for just one moment. I'll quickly flick through the chat. I think I had a couple of comments. Don't want to get too far behind. Maura Lee. Oh, hi, that Maura. Just saying, for the dragons, I see the dragon demands. Hi, there is also in the chat. What's other? Sure, I had a couple of. Oh, so Rabbi Mitra saying apologies for missing so many streams. There's no need to apologize at all. Here's yourself, Dan, and the lovely mods. Hopefully the Ratcliffe era improves upon what we saw today, GGMU. Yeah, that's a football comment. Let's not talk about that. That was not the reason why I was a couple of minutes later. I should probably establish I was having a few technical issues. Okay, so I will come back to the chat in a moment. Let's move on through these slides. So we have a camp. This is almost certainly somewhere in the Riverlands. So this is Daemon is amassing the army on the mainland, and here we have him in front of a tree. Perhaps this isn't a battle. Perhaps he's beheading somebody. What he does, he takes Harrenhal and he sets that up as their home base. And there, obviously, he has to get rid of whoever was there. So that maybe is what we're seeing here. Him doing this in front of a weirwood tree is fascinating because weirwood trees are hardly ever mentioned in the Dance of the Dragons in Fire and Blood. But here they've been surprisingly prominent, it has to be said. They used a weirwood tree in King's Landing heavily, it has to be said. And here again, we've got a weirwood tree. Now, given where we know that Daemon goes, this can only be one of a few different possible places. One option is indeed Harrenhal. Another option is perhaps another random town or castle in the Riverlands, or possibly this is right at the very, very end of the season in King's Landing when he's executing people there. So it's yeah, that's possible. Oh, in the chat, I've just spotted the thing I missed in the chat. For my people saying, I will be in support of any and all war crimes committed by Queen Rhaenyra in this upcoming season. Hashtag Team Black. There will be a lot of war crimes. I think it's probably fair to say. Let's flick on. So here we just have a shot of Corlys Velaryon. He was towards the end of last season. It was quite a plot point, if you remember, in episode 8. He got injured and ill, and he's quite old by this point. He's older in the books than he looks on the TV show, it has to be said, but he kind of rouses himself for one last battle. And so here we don't really see much else from him in this trailer, but it's a useful confirmation that he is around. And there's just the Iron Throne. So yeah, here we come to and again I will just say spoilers, which is, I will say what's in the books. It's probably what's going to happen on the TV show. This is Blood and Cheese. Now the overview here is that what happens in the books is that basically we have a son for a son is the call that goes out from Dragonstone. They took a son. That, of course, was Luke. And so Team Black are going to take a son from Team Green. And the people who do this are hired by and it's never made 100% clear, but the clear implication is that this was Damon who got in contact with Lady Miseria. She managed to get a rat catcher in who knew the secret ways into the Red Keep, and also another random thug who we only know them by the names of Blood and Cheese, and they go in and do horrific things. And indeed, a son of Team Green is killed. This, I think, shows quite clearly that this does happen. This should be some of the most shocking bits or moments, not just of the season, but probably of the entire show. The impact we will see across a number of characters, but I just wanted to highlight, I said this at the beginning, we get a lot of these pictures of Alicent looking just downcast. She's quite well weary in the way that she speaks in that opening bit, and here she's looking down to actually when you see the trailer, this is just a shot. She's clearly lighting a candle and then blowing out the match or whatever it is that she's got in her hand, and that seems to imply perhaps she's praying at the sept. Here, I don't know, feel free to guess in the chat where this is, but this is her, and again she's looking distraught, lost. She has lost and has witnessed the loss of a granddaughter, and it's just coming to her quite how horrific all of this is. And this, I mean, I think this is a great picture. This is Helena. Now she seems to be wearing a black veil. It took me a while, actually, I have to say, to see exactly who it is, because there's a strong transformation. But this is as far as I can tell, a mourning veil. She is mourning the death of her son, and this does affect her. In the book, it's very clear this affects her hugely. One of her other children, for reasons that book readers will know, she can no longer look at anymore, and she, to the extent that she can't bring up her own child, Alicent has to take over looking after the child. She basically just goes off into her room on her own. The king, she doesn't speak to the king, and it's a tragic, terrible moment. And the way I love what they've done with the character of Helena in season 1, they made her very clearly a dragon dreamer, but very clearly a Cassandra figure as a dragon dreamer, somebody that nobody really seems to be listening to. It's not, I mean, Cassandra is probably not the wrong way to say it. It's that people don't seem to even realize that she is coming out with prophetic words. They just think that she's simple or something along those lines. Northern Tommy in the chat saying both Alicent and Rhaenyra experience severe mental health effects due to the fighting. Both get destroyed emotionally. Yes. Charis saying my guess is somewhere in the Kingswood. That'll be in reference to this. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I had this mad initial thought, this could this possibly be the God's Eye Lake, but I could think of no reason why she would be there. I just want to see more of God's Eye Lake, I think. Mattia saying, I think again, looking at this scene makes no sense to me. Where is this? What is she doing? Is this a vision? I don't know. I agree. This is an odd thing. We don't know where she is or why she's there. Right, let's go to so we've got that. Let's move over to this. So I've put this next. I would love to know people's comments here. I will go straight to the comments after this one, because like those pictures of Alicent, this is something which is intriguing. Let's put it that way. This obviously is Rhaenyra. That is Sarak's her dragon behind her. Then next shot we have is this one, which seems very clearly to be the same. We've got Rhaenyra in front of Cyrax, and at the bottom you can see what looks like sand, and here she seems to be facing off against somebody. Now, it's not 100% clear which dragon that is. I heard somebody suggest perhaps this is Dreamfire, based on the color. Dreamfire was sort of silvery blue, in which case this would be Helena. Now, would Helena meet Rhaenyra one-on-one? If so, why? It's a really intriguing image, because we simply do not know what that is. It's not a scene that's in the books. She doesn't, Rhaenyra doesn't go sort of go off on her own all that much in the books. So yeah, let's Dragon Demands talking about script leaks. I don't cover leaks on this channel, but if you are interested in leaks, then have a look in the chat there for that. Michelle Rimo saying Adam and Sea Smoke. I think she's mad that he claimed Sea Smoke, which is possible. So Sea Smoke, if you remember, was Laenor's dragon. This does look a bit like that was the other suggestion I was going to come up with. So the Laenor, as you know, in the book, he gets killed. And I think it's pretty clear that he does get killed. On the show, he actually gets spared. Rhaenyra and Daemon conspire to allow him to go off and live a happy life over in Essos. Now, what happens in the book is that then we get Adam of Hull, Adam Velaryon, who he then becomes, who then claims Sea Smoke and rides Sea Smoke. Now, this is important in terms of dragon lore, because if, and we'll come on to this again in a little bit, but if this is a completely new person riding Sea Smoke, while Laenor is still there, then this is the first time this has happened that we know of, that a dragon rider has gone off, who has a bond with a dragon, has gone away, and somebody else has come and started riding that dragon. And so, yes, there might well be a case that Sea Smoke, that Rhaenyra would wish to specifically talk to somebody who has claimed the dragon of Laenor. Andrew K saying Laenor comes back with some obsidian sunglasses. All is settled and everyone fooled. Yeah, I enjoyed that little bit of tinfoil when it came out. Andrew K also saying the size and color definitely looks like it could be Sea Smoke. Shimon Luzinski saying, was Nettles in the trailer? I will come on to that bit in a little while. Brothers Crin saying there are leaks. Yes, there are plenty of leaks if you want them. As I say, I personally I have nothing against anyone who wants leaks. If you want leaks, go get leaks. That you can find them. That's absolutely fine. On this channel, I keep it as a place where we don't have leaks, and so I just find it easiest to tell people there are no leaks on this channel anyway. But yes, if you want them, and Dragon Demands is I don't know whether Dragon Demands is still out there, but Dragon Demands does do, I'll give him a quick shout out, does do a great channel which regularly provides an output of leaks that are out there. So do go and check that out. Perhaps one of the moderators could put a link in there. Brothers Chris saying, I didn't know and didn't want them. Well, so yeah, this is the thing. On this channel, we don't cover leaks. If you want leaks, there are leaks out there. If you don't want leaks, you're safe here. Right. Let's go on from that one. We can come back to any and all of these questions as we're coming through. So let's move on here. So this looks like the north, doesn't it? We can't see the faces of anyone. We can't see any context, but there is snow on the ground. And we do know that Charis does go north. Now, in the books, he goes first of all to the Vale of Arryn, secures their support. Then he goes up to White Harbour, gets House Manderley support, and then goes up to Winterfell and gets their support. We have had casting for Cregan Stark, who is obviously going to be important later on in the story. So I think this is what we're seeing here. This is the North, and for those who have read the book, they will know that there are many rumors within the in-world about what happened when Jacaerys went up there. So it'll be fascinating to see exactly what the show picks up on, what it doesn't pick up on. But the rumors go from him having an affair with Sarah Snow, a bastard daughter of the Starks, to him marrying her even in secret, to his dragon laying dragon eggs and leaving them down in the Winterfell crypts. There's 1,000,001 of these random rumors. We do not know where they're going to go with this, but this seems to suggest that, yes, we are going to see Winterfell, we're going to see the North, but we haven't got any more information from this trailer. Okay, let's go to the big battle scene. Now, I will flick through in a little bit all of the battle scene images we have. It's not at all clear whether all of these are from the same battle. It's entirely possible. The way they splice this together, they could take a cool shot from one battle in part of the season and put it next to another cool shot from a different battle earlier in the season. What I've tried to do here is put together what I think looks like the Battle of Rook's Rest, which is clearly going to be an important part of this season. So what we've got here are a whole load of troops coming out into sort of a clearing in the wooded area. Similar looking terrain. When you had it on the video, then these are horsemen riding very quickly towards those woods, then riding, they look like they're the same horsemen, riding very quickly through the woods. And then we get, pretty sure that's Vhagar, flying up and over. We get various shots of smoke and confusion, fire, that's clearly dragon fire going on, and I'll come back to that one in a bit. So what do we have here? Well, the Battle of Rook's Rest in the books, again at a high level, because we don't know how they're going to be handling this on the show. The Greens, having been struck by blood and cheese, feeling they're a bit on the back foot, and things are going a bit slow. This is Aegon, who starts thinking things are going a bit slow, gets decides to go on the attack. Kristen Cole is all for this as well, and they go out to, if you remember, I talked about some houses, some of the noble houses in the area had declared support, some hadn't. They go out to Duskendale originally just to bring them into line, and then also this place called Rook's Rest. Now, you will remember that Rhaenys was flying over this area just keeping an eye on things. She basically gets ambushed by Vhagar coming in to it was Vhagar and Sunfire, which is Aegon the Second. So Aegon himself, as well as Aemond, join the attack, and we have we have a first proper dragon battle, because what we had at the end of season 1 wasn't really. It was very one-sided. This is a proper dragon battle between a very seasoned dragon rider in Rhaenys, a massive dragon in Vhagar, and also a third younger dragon in Sunfire. And I think this may well be what is happening here. We get just a guess, but perhaps these guys could have got, there's a dragon coming, rushing back to the team. Suddenly here, out of nowhere, comes Vhagar we get all of the fire and destruction. So that, as I say, this is going to be a pivotal moment in the season because this of the casualties we get on either side. So I'm not going to. I'm sort of weaving a line of spoilers here, but if you've read the books, you know that there's a significant casualty that happens on both sides, and that will impact on both of their plans going forward. This is an intriguing one because we don't really get to see what it is, but this looks like a procession. It looks to me like a funeral procession. That's a drum with a black band around it. Everyone seems to be wearing dark clothes. Now, we have a number of these, so funerals and the like. So it could be any of them. We obviously have the funeral following on from Blood and Cheese. We also have what happens after the Battle of Rook's Rest is that, well, spoilers, Melis, the head of Melis the dragon, is dragged into King's Landing in slow procession, which obviously scares the natives of King's Landing. We'll get onto that in just one moment. So that gets dragged in there, but also there are lots of other casualties. This does look like King's Landing in the background. Aemond here, we already know that he feels that he is better suited to be king than his brother Aegon. Aegon, badly injured, who's going to step up to take on the role? We have a new Lord Protector, Aemond. So he is going to be stepping up. This is Baela, who is, if you remember, Lena and the family trees here, I know, get very confusing. The names are very, very similar. But Daemon Targaryen and Lena Velaryon married and had 2 daughters. One of them in the books is a dragon rider, and the other in the books is not a dragon rider. Not yet, at least. So we have Baela, who is on Moondancer, and this is her. And she seems to be screaming out and very angry. Now, in the books, she didn't really seem to get much involved in fighting. She sort of hung around a bit on Driftmark and back to Dragonstone, not really getting engaged. But here, this does look like her getting involved in some fighting. So it's not 100% clear where or when that is. But I included it there because I said I was treading a fine line of spoilers. I don't think I can tell. I can tell us the tale of the trailer without doing book spoilers here. Anyway, her mother dies. So she, not her mother. Rhaenys dies. Her mother died a long time ago. So Rhaenys dies. So she may well be. Rhaenys basically sort of was her adoptive mother. So she should be angry. Maybe that's what's causing this reaction. Here we have 3 shots of King's Landing in uproar. Now, this could be any one of 3 different occasions. There are, like with the fighting, like the battle scenes, there are at least 3 times during this period of time when the people of King's Landing get a bit jittery. And when I say get a bit jittery, they start rampaging, trying to leave the city, and all manner of bad things. This is the beginning of quite a descent for King's Landing. Towards the end of the Dance of the Dragons, things get really bleak. But the three occasions are after Blood and Cheese. Aegon decides that's it. We'll have, I think it was Aegon rather than Otto. Anyway, they decide that there should no longer be any rat catchers. The rat catchers know how to get in and out of King's Landing, not just King's Landing, but the Red Keep. They know all the secrets they have to be got rid of. So the rat catchers are rounded up and killed. Causes huge problems in the city. Lots of people know rat catchers. It's a big problem. Secondly, we have, after the Battle of Rook's Rest, the head of Melis the Dragon is dragged through the city streets. Now, Melis the Dragon is a big dragon. It's an old dragon, and this causes people to panic for actually, I think, reasonably straightforward reasons. People now realize this is going to be war, and war is going to come to King's Landing. Before, they probably hoped, okay, maybe they might come to, the lords and ladies of this of the world will come to some kind of understanding and it all will be okay. But here, this is suddenly very clear. There has been dragons fighting dragons, and there will be retribution. People try to leave the city, and what happens, this is why it might be this occasion, Alicent shuts the gates. She orders the gates shut. She doesn't want everybody leaving the city. The only clue, however, that we do have here is that she does seem to be wearing what looks like a black veil here. So perhaps this is after the death of Charis, her grandson. It's not 100% clear, but as I say, those are the three options that we have going on there. This is just a quite pretty look at the dragon pit. I don't think we can tell huge amounts from that one. This, however, I mentioned Eric and Eric Corgill. You'll remember them, the twins in the King's Guard. They split up. One was in Team Green, one was in Team Black. Now, I don't know when during the season they will do this story, but they clearly are going to do this story. It's quite a cool little bit. We have Team Green deciding that the easiest way out of this is just to kill Rhaenyra. And can they get a spy in there? Can they get someone into Dragonstone? It seems quite hard. But what if they had somebody who was the identical twin of a person who could get right next to her, a person in her own Kingsguard? They have somebody. So Eric Cargill goes over to Dragonstone, infiltrates the castle, and tries to track down the queen and kill her, Rhaenyra. He gets confronted by his twin brother, and they fight. And it will be interesting to see how they play it on the show, because in the book, then it gives us several different versions of how this panned out, ranging from it was over in a matter of seconds to it lasted for hours and hours upon end, and people wrote songs about "Farewell, My Brother." A very rousing, well-known song was written about it. So it'll be interesting to see how they play it. But basically, this is a plot line which will happen at some point in this season. Right, here we go with the last of the. I mean, I don't think controversial is the right way of saying this, but the ones which the shots here which have created, I think, the most debate since the trailer came out. We already touched on this before. What is this dragon? Well, it looks like it's sea smoke. Sea smoke, we had pictures of sea smoke. We obviously saw sea smoke last year. It looks like it's sea smoke. Who is this? Well, it's hard to say, because they're on screen for less than a second. They're looking upwards. They don't look like any character that we already know. There are two broad options here. This is either Adam of Hull, who is going to hunt down Sea Smoke, it would appear, and claim him, or this is Nettles. Nettles is one of the dragon seeds who manages to tame Sheepstealer, the dragon Sheepstealer. And Nettles has an important part in the story later as well. Now, which is it? I mean, my initial thought was that this was Nettles, I have to say. So I want it to be Nettles because I think Nettles is a great character. I think that we should have Nettles. But the more I'm looking at the context clues, is that this, I'm pretty sure that is Sea Smoke. And if you've got a person who is looking at Sea Smoke, then maybe this is Adam of Hull. I mean, it's quite hard to sort of say. I'll jump into the. I'll go into the rest of the screenshots in just one moment. I'll just have a quick flick through the chat to see what you might think there. Martin S saying, "Hi Robert, hope you're well. Do you think Rhaenyra will go after Aemond in season 2 for Lucerys? I remember her facial expression of something like a hateful fury at the end of season 1. Well, yes, she's going to war. That much is clear. Her in the books, she does not personally go after Aemond. It has to be said, but she wants them all. Basically, she is then wanting Team Green to be dead. She will not want him alive. So personally, no, but that doesn't mean that there are not going to be people coming after him. Let's quickly flick through the chat. Nikolai Monson saying that's for sure Nettles. Luna Cascade saying I thought it was Nettles too. Northern Tommy saying I really hope Adam of Hull is included. They might just roll him into Laenor though. Maura Lee saying I thought Nettles. Berus Aurelius saying she might not be till season 3 though. Andrew K saying, "Is this sheep stealer? The dragon looks brown and could be a scene, in a scene where it swoops down for a meal." And Nail saying, "Since it's Sea Smoke, I think it's Adam." But yeah, basically, people are mixed on this. I mean, I think it's most likely Sea Smoke is my take. And given that, the context, I think, has to be that this is most likely Adam of Hull. But I couldn't be 100% certain on it. With this, if this isn't Nettles, does this mean that we're not going to get Nettles? No, it doesn't. I think it was Berus Aurelius in the chat saying she could come in season 3. That's absolutely true. There's no reason whatsoever. I think we've assumed that because the whole Dragon Seeds plot line happens at this point in the books, that means that the whole plot line has to happen at this point on the TV show. I don't think that's necessarily right. They could do all, none, or some of it now. And still have them around for next time. The Dragon Seeds become more important later, and probably in about season 3 is where the height of their importance in this. Should you get away without introducing all of these characters? Can I? Yes. I mean, I can certainly imagine a production discussion when they go, okay, so we've got to introduce like all these new dragons and all of these new characters. Don't forget, we've also got Deeren and Tessarion down in Old Town, who are going to make an appearance, we hope, in the show. So there's a lot of extra new characters that we have to be. I could well imagine they said, how many of these do we need to have in this season? And okay, well, maybe we can just do 2. Maybe we could introduce Nettles next season and actually have the season focus more in on her and her arc. That would kind of make sense when you think about where season 3 might end. It could be a season very focused in on Nettles. So I don't think that we're in a world of Nettles is being written out of the story completely. If this is not Nettles, then I think we will see Nettles either briefly in this season or in much greater focus next season. Okay, so yeah, I just kept that one in summer 2024. This is just to confirm this is when we're going to get it, summer of next year. They have said semi-officially early summer, so I'm expecting June, July-ish probably. But you know, they're normally pretty good. But the problem we've got this year is actually not post-production times. What we've got this year is all of the channels and streaming services have got the same issue, which is that they've got a gap now in terms of TV shows coming forward. They've got a gap because of the writer's strike and because of the actor's strike in America. This has meant that some things just didn't go into production for a 6-month period, really. And as a result, they are probably going to pace out some of their releases. So, for example, House of the Dragon, season 1, they turned around in 5 months, I think, post-production. They finished filming this a couple of months ago. So I think that if they were really pushing this, they could probably get this out, I don't know, Easter-ish time. But I have a feeling that it's not just going to be this show, lots of shows. They're just going to push it back just a little bit, just to sort of smooth out the curve of all of these shows that are going to be arriving late. So here's a few other random pictures. That's obviously Damon there sitting on Caraxes, looking kind of cool. That could be pretty much at any point in the show. A random bit of fighting, another random bit of fighting. Here's Aemond on the back of Vagar, and also Rhaenyra fighting on the back of a dragon. Now, I mean, it's just looking at the sky in the background. Those look very similar kinds of bits of sky. Are they fighting each other? I mean, this would be a departure from the books, because in the books, Rhaenyra doesn't really get on the back of her dragon and go fighting. Perhaps she will in the show. Perhaps they're going to expand out her role to be actually slightly more frontline. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, she's definitely, I mean, if not fighting, then that she's not going for a pleasure ride there, is she? Here, this is House Hightower troops on the march. This, I mean, we can't get too much from this, but I will give you a little bit of the broader plot here. Again, this is something which will be bigger, I suspect, in season 3. But the Team Green, obviously, their biggest bit of support is House Hightower. House Hightower are based in Old Town, across to the west, southwest of Westeros. And so the call goes out, come, you're needed, bring the army. And they've also got Deeren, the youngest son, and also a dragon rider. And he is going to come with the army and head up towards King's Landing and help out. But they have a problem in the books in that they thought they had all of the reach on Lockdown. Everybody was going to be supporting them, but quite a few houses didn't, including, off the top of my head, I think the Tarleys and the Rowans and a few actually quite significant houses. So this army sets off, but its progress just slows down and slows down and slows down until by part 3, season 3, I suspect, it pretty much just grinds to a halt. But here they are setting off. Presumably this is them setting off from the west, and we will start to see them engaging in the storyline. Happy for any thoughts on what this might be. We've got a few people in boats getting off of the boats, going somewhere else. And I think that was the last shot I had from the trailer. Okay, as I say, those were just some random ones that could have fitted in anywhere. But what I will do is I'll just quickly flick through the chat and try and pick up as many different comments. Karkarsnark saying Rhaenyra has to do something other than hang out in the castle all the time. She can have a few dragon rides or encounters, if not battles. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably what they're going to be doing. In the book, she does mostly just stay in Dragonstone, and then from Dragonstone go to King's Landing, and she leaves the fighting to the others. So her character on the show seems slightly more personally proactive than that. So I think, yes, we will probably see her involved in some way. The question is this going to be a battle? In which case, this would be a departure from what we have, obviously, in the book, because if she gets involved in something like the Battle of Rook's Rest, then that turns from just being what we had in the book, 3 dragons, suddenly that becomes much more significant, 4 dragons, 5, whatever. So I think they need to keep it quite focused. But yeah, I have a feeling they will get her getting out and about a little bit more. Northern Tommy, yeah, this is a completely new set of showrunners here. Ryan Congler, who's the guy running the show now, is a bit of a Song of Ice and Fire nerd and is committed to working closely with George R. R. Martin. So yeah, this is different to the showrunners from Game of Thrones. Andrew Kay talking about a shortened season. Yeah, so this is going to be 8 episodes, we've been told, this season. Now, what does this signify? Well, I suppose it depends how charitable you're being. This could signify the fact that this would be cheaper for them to produce 8 rather than 10 episodes. Not just in terms of overall production costs, but, you know, hiring actors per episode, things like that. So that's a cynical way of looking at it. The less cynical is that they've mapped out what they need for the season, and they've decided to go with that rather than 10. They felt that 10 worked for the build-up, and then they've plotted out what they need to do in this arc. And in the book, this bit of arc, in my view, goes from where we are now up to Rhaenyra taking King's Landing. That's the obvious arc. Now, there are a certain number of things that happen during that time, and if you're being charitable, you say, well, okay, fair enough. If you've got enough things to fill 8 episodes, make it 8 episodes long. Don't try and stretch it out to 10 episodes just because you can. So it depends on how charitable you are. But yes, this season 1 was 10 episodes. Season 2 is 8 episodes. Ranabir Mitra asking if we could be ending with the Battle of the Gullet, especially since we saw Corlys getting into armor. I mean, I think. I mean, we could do. I have no inside information on this, but I think that if you're looking for an overall arc for the season 1, the arc I think was quite clear. We went from the situation at the beginning where all was well and everything was good, and it was very clear that Rhaenyra was going to be the heir, to the outbreak of war, civil war. Season 2 starts with a position where Team Green are broadly in the ascendancy. They are in King's Landing. They've got their person on the Iron Throne. And a good arc for the season would be to bring it around to a point where that has switched. So I think that works well. I think stopping at the Battle of the Gullet, it might be a dramatic moment, but in terms of an arc for the season or as a whole, then that doesn't really work for me. Michelle Rimo saying, I get married on the 6th, the 7th, 24. I don't know whether that's American or British, whether that's the 7th of June or 6th of July, but congratulations in advance for that one. Saying, I swear to the old gods and the new and R'hllor that if it premieres that same weekend, I will literally explode from joy. Well, I hope that there isn't a clash for you, but that would be a wonderful present for you. Weirwood saying it would make Damon's storyline very, very weird if she were left out. Yeah, I don't think she's going to be written out. Let's go to, I think I had else in the chat, Willie Biggs 2000 saying, I bet we see Sanax and Rhaenyra in action for the Battle of the Gullet instead of Nettles. Yeah, it's possible, actually. They might do that. So the Battle of the Gullet, if they don't want to have all of the dragon seeds heading off, maybe it would make sense for Rhaenyra to get involved in that. She'll already be a little bit paranoid about not wanting to lose her children, I would have thought. Berus Aurelius saying it makes more sense for the Queen to remain safe, but I get for the show she needs to be seen in more interesting scenes. Cindy saying, I think Laenor is going to be back. It would fit how they portrayed him in the show. If the death of his eldest son won't make him return, then why did they spare him at all? Yeah, I mean, we always have to say eldest son on that one, don't we? But I understand the point. I'm just flicking through. Maura Lee saying, I'm looking forward to the meeting with Craig and Stark. Do you think there'll be any mention about prophecies on the show? Well, we have got the prophecy, which is in there, the Song of Ice and Fire, Aegon's prophecy. Are they going to do any more on it this season? I don't think they'll be able to resist doing something on it, it has to be said. The intriguing bit will be whether they do anything when they go up to Winterfell. That's the thing I'm really looking for. So we will perhaps get Rhaenyra trying to pass on the prophecy to her son. So it goes down to the next generation. But as far as we could tell, she hadn't done that by the time that he went north. So the interesting thing will be whether or not there's any interactions there. What it did lead to, I said that visit to the north had lots of rumors about what happened. One thing that definitely led to was what was known as the Pact of Ice and Fire, which was a marriage promise between House Stark and House Targaryen. So clearly that worked, that bit of diplomacy worked, which means that, and he did stay up there for a little while. They did get quite close, we're told. So what were they bonding over? Just because they liked each other, or was there something else? Pardon me, something else that's going on there. Andrew K asking, what point in the season do you expect Rook's Rest? A nice taste of what is to come with the Gullet and the first Tumbleton likely in season 2. Tumbleton season 3, so in season 3, yeah, in Tumbleton season 3, I think definitely the Battle of the Gullet should happen this season, I think. The Battle of Rook's Rest definitely, obviously, in this season. So we've got a few things that need to happen first. Blood and Cheese is the most obvious thing here. Also, Daemon needs to be taking Harrenhal. We probably got some Jacaerys travels that we'll need to be getting through. So there's quite a lot, but I'd say episode 3 or 4 probably works as a reasonable place for it to appear, in my view. Luna Cascade saying, House of the Dragon is HBO's flagship show. I think the limitation to 8 episodes is due to making quality production such as epic battle scenes. I'm okay with that. Yeah, and it's worth just reiterating that this was their biggest debut episode ever. It was the highest rated episode of anything for them since Game of Thrones. This is massive for them. We think of this as like the spin-off from Game of Thrones. To them, this is their biggest show that they've had for 5 years, and they're pinning huge hopes on this season. So they want to make sure it's done right. My point about the when it's going to be is nothing to do with how good a quality they think they can make it, though. Mathieu, in the shot of the Iron Throne, the one you had in your slideshow, the Targaryen banners are red and black. Shouldn't they be green and gold? Could this be a vision of some sort? Oh, hang on. Where was that? That's a good spot. This was what I was. One of the things I was hoping people might pick up on things I hadn't done. See whether I can try and find that picture of the Iron Throne now. Nope, it's not in that lot. Was it in this lot here? I think that's quite hard to tell myself. Whether they are. Yeah. Oh, actually, another thing. Just while I was thinking on it, while we're here, it's worth noting. Oh, you can't really see it very well from that angle, but. We have the new sigil, the proper sigil for Team Green, which is the gold dragon on the green background. So that you will see that appearing a lot more in season 2. But yeah, the that Iron Throne. I mean, I have to admit, I can't tell what colours those things are because it's so very dark. But maybe later on, there was a flash of light or something in that scene. I'll have to go back and have a look at it. But yeah, good spot on that one. Willie Biggs 2000 saying, looking forward to meet Team Sesame Street from the Riverlands, Elmo, Kermit, Oscar, and Grover. Yeah, this was something that. George R. Martin, he sometimes has a little bit of fun with the names in his wider world, and particularly when he thinks that this is just some throwaway characters from a bit of history that I don't need to worry about. The Tullys, House Tully, during this period have Elmit, Kermit, Oscar, and Grover, which. Yes, this is just him having a little bit of fun. He probably didn't think this would be a prime time TV show when he came up with those names, but we will definitely see them. House Tully obviously are important in the Riverlands. They're the Lords Paramount in the Riverlands. However, they're not treated with huge amounts of respect by the other lords in the Riverlands. And here, to start with, at least, they are almost paralyzed into doing nothing. They've got quite a sort of an age issue. So the elder statesman in House Tully isn't doing anything. And it's only later on that we have the lads, as they are known, the younger Tullys, coming into action. Have a flick through the chat here. Erin's son X saying, I live in hope that George R. R. Martin will contribute some story bits to enhance the Northern story and the meeting of Jason Cregan. This is the hope. This is the hope that he. So the Ryan Kongle, we've heard from both his side and George R. R. Martin's side. They are in regular, almost daily contact about this. And Ryan, the showrunner, runs things past George R. R. Martin. And George R. R. Martin considers he has 2 big roles when it comes to the TV shows, he says. His first role is to make sure that each of the TV shows is consistent with the other TV shows. And the second is to ensure that each of the TV shows is individually as close to the books as he can make them. So he is always going to be trying to pull things back towards the books. But the big example we obviously had from season 1 was the putting in the prophecy that meant that Aegon invaded Westeros in the first place. That was massive, and we basically had confirmation that yes, this was from George. So he may well put some other things in there. We had a whole load of hints at lore added in season 1 of House of the Dragon. We had stuff to do with how the dragons were managed, is probably the best way of saying it, how dragon bonding worked. We also had some throwaway lines from Viserys about the Anogrion in Old Valyria, and the volcano being the source of the power of the dragon riders. These are throwaway comments that have huge implications for the kind of the background and the lore of this world. So I'm looking for a lot more of that kind of stuff that they might just sort of drop in there, that everyone else will completely ignore. But then I'll go, what? You said what? So yeah, that's. I think we will get some, and I think the most likely place is indeed in the north at Winterfell, but we can't expect it, but it's possible. Onion asking, what's the most exciting thing that I see in the trailer? I mean, I don't know if exciting is the right word, but confirmation of blood and cheese is the one that really got me, I have to say. Weirwood, will we see Jace in the Vale, or will that be off screen? I wonder. Maybe he finds out about Luke at the Vale. Yeah, I don't know whether we'll see him. I certainly haven't seen anything certainly not in this trailer or in any other official promotional materials about the Vale or White Harbour. I think they'll probably drop White Harbour. It's book important as a place, but I think it would just confuse show-only people why they're going to this other random house. I think people will understand going to House Arryn, and House Arryn is quite important actually as the deeper into the dance you get, but you can do an easy right around to show the inclusion of the Manderleys by Jace arrives at Winterfell and then tells the Manderleys to go off and send some people down straight away, that kind of thing. So yeah, I don't think there's a likelihood that we're going to see White Harbour, but the Vale of Arryn, yes. Okay. And Orlando Mitra saying, I'm excited for more Laris. There's no Laris. So yeah, I was thinking about this, which is always a fun thing to do. What's not in the trailer? What do we not see anything of? And the most glaring thing is the spy war side of things. So we didn't see anything from Laris, and we didn't see anything from Missaria, Lady Misery, and they will both play an important role in what is to come. We didn't see the sort of the wider Green Council going on. We only had that one shot of Corlys Velaryon, and we didn't have the dragon seeds. Other than that one that we've been debating for a while, we didn't really have shots of the dragon seeds as a whole. So there are a lot of missing things, nor did we have, incidentally, a big sea battle, Battle of the Gullet, which we would be expecting. I'm not too surprised about the stuff at the end of the season. Normally, with these kind of trailers, they do front load it. The images we get are from the first few episodes of the season, maybe one or two shots from towards the end. But yeah, partly because they don't want to spoil the end, but also partly because they produce these things usually in order. So they do episode 1 first, then do episode 2 first. So they have more footage to go on for the first few episodes than the last few episodes. And Duque saying, my concern with the Gullet is that it might be nearly a full episode battle. Not sure if that fits into a shortened season. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure quite how they would work that. The battle itself could be a full episode. You could focus it in. How that would fit in. I mean, I did try and scribble down what I thought might work in terms of 8 episodes, and I mean, I think you can do it. The other thing it's probably worth noting is it's not just the number of episodes, it's how long the episodes are. So season 1, the episodes were actually quite long, all of them, but there's a big difference between 45-minute episodes of 8 episodes a season or an each episode being over an hour for an 8-episode season. That's, well, just for context, season 1 of Game of Thrones, most of the episodes were about 3/4 of an hour. So if we had an 8-episode season with everything an hour or so, that's probably about the same amount of actual screen time as we had for a 10-episode season of Game of Thrones. Northern Tommy saying, I had blocked out that Laris Alicent moment from my memory. It's just come flooding back. Yeah, I don't know whether they're going to build on that at all. I suspect probably not. But Laris is conspicuous by his absence from this trailer. Maura Lee asking if the showrunners have confirmed how many seasons we're going to get. And is there any news regarding Dunk and Egg? Have they confirmed? No. Well, yes and no, and sort of. We've only got seasons 1 and 2 confirmed, officially greenlit. But everybody knows that they're not going to stop here. This has been a massive success. George R. R. Martin has already openly been talking about we're going to be starting pre-production soon, or the writing bits basically of season 3 soon. So that's happening. HBO normally wait until a couple of episodes in before announcing, yes, we've renewed for another season. Casey Bloys, the head of content or whatever his job title is, I assume it's a he. I don't think I've ever actually seen them. I've just only ever seen the name written down. But anyway, they have said unofficially that it should run for at least 4 seasons, which is intriguing because the way I think most of us had now sort of figured out how this works is up to 4 seasons. If it's going to be at least 4 seasons, that then leaves open the option, well, what are you going to do after the Dance of the Dragons? Are you going to charge on into the Regency, which I would love, or are you just going to carry on with this anthology idea and go flip all the way back to doing Aegon's invasion under the badge of House of the Dragon? So that's another option. As for updates on Duncan Egg, we're still where we were. We had a casting call went out. Oh, I don't even remember when it was, like a month or so ago, for the main 2 characters, with a view to filming, I think it said March, but certainly next year, first half of next year. I think the implication is that if in HBO's dream world, what they will have is House of the Dragon and Duncan Egg happening on alternate years and both being a success. So that seems to be where they're going. No news of anything. The last we heard from George R. R. Martin was that writing had been going well. The first episode was largely written. They were pretty sure that it was going to be a 6-episode season, but the fact that they were still debating that does seem to imply that they had quite a bit of writing left to do on that. But as I say, I think that he said that even before the writer's strike, so that was a long time ago. We've not had any big updates since then, nor have we had any updates on any of the other potential spin-offs, other than George R. Martin confirming that there are still 8-9 of them out there, depending on how you count them. It's not. There's no news, but no news is not either good news or bad news in this case. Carl Carsnock saying we should get some Duncan Egg news soon, though, right? I think probably some point in the new year we will. When they cast, we will get some news, and they must be doing the casting sometime around now. So maybe at some point in the new year, before they actually start filming, then yes, I'm sure they will announce who those 2 characters are, because a lot of that filming will have to be outdoors. So that's the kind of thing that does leak if they try to keep it quiet. Right. Okay. I think with this, I was always going to keep this one a nice and short stream because this was quite an impromptu one. If there are any, I will have a last flick through the chat. But if you have any other questions, now is the time to drop them in. But what I will say is, moderators, thank you. I didn't warn the moderators at all that I was doing this because I didn't know I was doing this myself. And yet, moderators have turned up in force. So thank you. I hugely appreciate your help, and just almost goes without saying, you're amazing. If you are in the chat, could you just show the mods a bit of love because they do a fantastic job. Let's flick through. And as Graham saying, I don't know about a conquest show. Only interesting thing to happen is Meraxes getting shot out of the sky. The rest of the battles are really one-sided. They are one-sided. I mean, I can't remember where I heard it, and this isn't anything official. It's just a thought I think somebody had at some point, was maybe they could turn the conquest into something like a film, an actual film released at the cinema, and then they could have the follow-up stuff. The Sons of the Dragon, for example, which was one of the novellas that George R. R. Martin wrote, which turned into The World of Ice and Fire and also Fire and Blood. But that you could turn into a TV series. Basically, the struggles between Aenys and Maegor the Cruel. I guess you could. I think you could make a season or so on the invasion, but it depends on how much you wish to add into it beforehand in terms of the actual prophecy and stuff like that. Lapu saying, do you think the showrunners will change the timeline to make Cregan Stark versus Bernard another theatre of war during the dances instead of its own thing? Will Jacaerys be involved? Maybe. I think they like the idea of including Winterfell in this, and it would not surprise me if they have some subplots going on in Winterfell that sort of keep Jace up there longer than he otherwise would be there. That one shot we've had is a whole bunch of people just riding on horses very slowly somewhere, which doesn't sound like the kind of speed diplomacy we might expect of him landing in Winterfell, talking, agreeing a deal and going away again. They're clearly hanging out and doing a few things. So it's possible they'll switch stuff up a bit, but what, I don't know. I think that would be new material. Andrew K saying there's a lot of unknowns with the dynamics. Would love all that fleshed out in terms of Aegon's conquest. Yeah, I agree with that. Mello saying Rhaenyra has ash on her face in the first shot. She was in a battle, probably in episode 1. Same outfit later, shot atop dragon. Battle of Burning Mill. She goes to Shipbreaker's Bay to see her son's body in episode 1. Yeah, I mean, this is where I need someone like Costume CO who can tell me exactly which of these different outfits she has on at different times. So here we have, this is where it looks like she's got a bit of soot on her. Is that the same outfit we see here? Here she certainly seems to be wearing a necklace where she doesn't seem to be in there, so probably they're different. I'm absolutely okay with this idea that she gets involved in a few little fracas here and there, even if she didn't in the book. If something like the Battle of Burning Mill, it was a small battle-ish early on in the Dance of the Dragons, and it's the kind of thing that you could certainly see if she just wished to let some anger out. That could be where she could go. Yotafro saying, was that Rainer on morning in the trailer? I missed most of the stream. Well, welcome. We've gone through most of it. Well, we've gone through all of the trailer so far. I think the working assumption is it's not Rainer on morning. Morning only is rideable right at the very, very end of the dance. But we do see what looks like Bela on Moondancer, who in the books doesn't really get involved in any fighting, but there looks like maybe she does. So maybe they're going to get lots of people involved in fighting who weren't there in the books. Anel saying, I think it's the same scene. It's exactly the same outfit and hair. Gaz Coleman, was there any mention of child of Jacaerys and Jacaerys knows there Targaryen blood running around Winterfell years later? I don't think there is Targaryen blood running around years later. Okay, so Weirwood saying the first was Blackier, the second was Reddier, the third was Blingier. These are the different outfits. See, I'm not good on the different outfits, I have to say. But Luna Cascade saying, hasn't it been said the Night King will be seen in season 2? Maybe a vision of the prophecy. I mean, I don't know if there's any leaks on that at all. I've heard rumors of the White Walkers or the others appearing in House of the Dragon. Personally, I hope not. I like the idea that they only really appeared when we think that they appeared, because that's how Mance Rayder managed to gain the support for everybody to be coming together in his massive sort of army group, traveling group heading south because of the threat of the others. Now, it does depend therefore entirely on context. A dream, a vision, that might work, I guess. I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous on that, I have to say, but they won me over. Season 1 won me over, so they have my trust. We'll just have to wait and see how they do this. Beres Aurelia saying, yeah, the others may be around, but not in a way that anyone really notices. That's pretty much, yes, what I say, but you said it more eloquently. And Noah J saying, strange how this teaser didn't show a hint of Alan Oakenfist, or perhaps I missed it. Was there? No, there wasn't, nor the other Dragon Seeds, other than the person who could have been Adam of Hull or could have been Nettles. The others we don't see. That's fine. We might see them in a later trailer. This is just a teaser trailer. We will get proper trailers nearer the time. Sarah Connor, fine art, good to see you. Excellent art. Did you go and check out her webpage? And I think that's probably it. So, okay, what I will do, I will be back next on Thursday with another live stream. I will do House Dark, I think, next time, and then we're nearly up to Christmas, so I think the week after that I will be doing my Christmas charity live stream. So keep an eye out on this channel, though. The short form videos will keep coming. On the main channel, I've got a whole load of videos all lined up. I've got Rob's Will. If you wondered what Rob's Will said, where it is, what impact that's going to have on the story more widely in A Song of Ice and Fire, then that video is coming up quite soon. Okay, let's maximize me up here. Okay, so we will be back on Thursday. If you want more live streams, there will be a link appearing somewhere around here. If you want to support the channel, somewhere around there will be a link to my Patreon page. But that is all for this time. Take care, everyone, and I will see you soon.